How do two young girls who are complete strangers to each other but live less than a mile apart go missing within 1 month of each other? One is discovered dead at the bottom of a cliff along a popular highway. The other is still missing, yet her car was found mysteriously abandoned on that same stretch of road. Their stories are eerily similar, yet police say they aren't connected. But after learning about what happened to Aurelie Garcia and how she completely vanished into thin air, I can't help but wonder what's really happening on Highway 1 in Big Sur, California. Aurelie Garcia was 25 years old when she mysteriously disappeared on September 22nd, 2022. She lived in Salinas, California at an apartment she shared with her mom, and being the youngest of 7 siblings, she was really close with her entire family. Aurelie worked as a service advisor at a Chevy dealership just minutes from her apartment in Salinas. She loved her job and took it very seriously. She would never call out, never no call, no show, and overall she was just really responsible with her job. She also had a very strict daily schedule of waking up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym, and then after working out, she would be at her job by 7:30 every morning. But for some reason, on the morning of September 22nd, she broke her typical routine. Security footage from her apartment shows her leaving at 6:34 a.m. and she was wearing black leggings, a black hoodie, and sneakers. She's then seen getting into her bright red Honda Accord and driving away. Right before 7 a.m., Aurelie texted one of her sisters and said good morning and that she missed her and her godson. She ended the text by saying, "I love you." After this, Aurelie vanished, never to be seen again, and the circumstances surrounding her disappearance are strange and really scary. It was around 10 a.m., a good 3 hours into Aurelie's shift, that her coworkers started to get worried. She and her coworkers were extremely close, more like friends really, and so they started texting Aurelie's sister to see if she was okay and to let her know that she never showed up for work. This is when Aurelie's sister saw the text that Aurelie had sent her just before 7 a.m. At the time, she was sleeping and obviously didn't see it, so she began calling and texting Aurelie to see if she was okay, but she never got a response. The calls weren't going through, so Aurelie's sister and the rest of her family went to her apartment to see if they could find anything. Everything was exactly the way she left it, and nothing seemed out of place. No note was left or anything, and this is when they started to freak out. So Aurelie's sister used the Find My iPhone app to track her location, and mysteriously, it traced Aurelie to Big Sur. This was really odd to everyone because this was over an hour from her apartment in Salinas, and she had no reason at all to be there. So Aurelie's family reported her missing to the Salinas Police Department, while her sister went out to her last known location, which was in Big Sur. Just as she was driving along Highway 1, she spotted Aurelie's bright red Honda Accord pulled over at a scenic turnout. It was abandoned near the Little Sur River Bridge, which is an area where there's not a lot of hikers or anyone on foot. The car was locked with no sign of Aurelie, but all of her personal belongings, including her phone, wallet, and keys, were still inside. There were no obvious signs of foul play, but one thing her family noted was that her car was parked in an odd way. Aurelie's car had a customized suspension system that would allow her to raise and lower the chassis. According to her family, Aurelie would always, and I mean always, lower the car all the way to the ground when she parked, but this time it was raised. Adding to the mystery is the fact that the driver's seat was pushed extremely far back, and Aurelie was only 5'5", so there was no way that she would have been able to drive her car with it being in that position. So the Salinas PD as well as the Monterey County Sheriff's Office were called out to the scene where they began searching for Aurelie. At this point in time, it was dark outside, but they used specialized drones that were equipped with infrared cameras. This would allow them to pretty much see anything at night, and the cameras would detect body heat, but Aurelie was nowhere to be found. Over the next 2 days, both agencies continued to search the 8 miles surrounding the location where her car was found, and they even brought in cadaver dogs, but not a single clue was found. It was like Aurelie vanished into thin air. This was a massive search too, like every cove, every beach, every trail and turnoff was searched. Not a single footprint or even a broken branch indicating that someone may have been walking in the area recently was found. Then police started combing through the security footage at her apartment, which they shared with her family. According to Aurelie's sisters, the last footage of her leaving her apartment immediately stood out to them. She left her house an hour later than she normally would wearing gym clothes, yet she would have had to have been at work in less than an hour. But at that point, there wouldn't have been enough time for her to work out, like she would have been late for work, which is something she never did. And in this video, Aurelie was alone, so what happened to her after leaving her apartment? No one knows. Police then found security footage that showed her bright red Honda Accord driving by a general store in Big Sur around 7:30 a.m. the day she went missing. But unfortunately, her windows were so tinted that you couldn't tell who was driving or if Aurelie was even in the car. Authorities believe that her car reached the location where it was eventually found between 7:50 and 8:45 a.m., and where it was found is about a 20-minute drive from the general store where it was caught on camera. But what's really odd is that on the day Aurelie disappeared, a Google Maps Street View car just so happened to be driving down Highway 1 in Big Sur, which you would think would be helpful in some way, but it only brings more questions. At around noon that day, the Google Maps Street View car drove by Aurelie's bright red Honda Accord. This was 6 hours before her sister discovered it abandoned. It was parked in front of 2 other cars, a white SUV and a silver sedan, who were all parked at the turnout. Police were able to track those cars down, but it ended up being just a couple of tourists who were taking pictures at the turnout, and they reportedly didn't see anything unusual. Aurelie's family believes that someone else was driving her car that day, because why on earth would she have gone so far away to a place that had no significant meaning to her? And authorities believe that whatever happened to Aurelie that day didn't happen to her in the area where her car was found. Salinas PD has since interviewed dozens of people regarding Aurelie's disappearance, but to this day she has never been found, and there have been no leads in this case. But in a strange twist, some started suspecting that Aurelie's disappearance could be connected to Kayeleigh Gammill, who disappeared just 5 weeks before Aurelie herself. Kayeleigh was last seen on August 17th, 2022, leaving her apartment in Salinas. She lived less than a mile from Aurelie, but the two didn't know each other. 13 days later, her body would be found at the bottom of a cliff at a turnout on, you guessed it, Highway 1 in Big Sur. It was almost as if someone had pulled over to dump her body off the cliff. She was found just 200 yards from the highway, and at this point in time, it's not known why she was in Big Sur either. Some believe that the two cases might be connected because they were both young girls. Kayeleigh was 20 and Aurelie was 25. They disappeared within 5 weeks of each other and lived so close to each other. They were both women of color and both had long, dark hair. Although Salinas PD has ruled out any connection between the two, the Monterey County Sheriff's Office says that they won't rule anything out just yet. According to them, even though there isn't any physical evidence tying the two cases together, they do have a lot of evidence in Kayleigh's case, so hopefully if they are actually connected, it's only a matter of time before evidence is found in Aurelie's case that can link the two together. But as of today, 2 years later, both cases are still unsolved. There's been no activity on Aurelie's bank account since the day she went missing. Her car was really recognizable and was customized, so if you knew her and knew what she drove, it would be really easy to see her on the road and follow her. It truly makes me wonder if someone did just that. But whoever is responsible for Aurelie's disappearance and whoever killed Kayeleigh is still out there, and whatever happened to them remains a mystery 2 years later. If you have any information in either case, please contact the number on the screen.